listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Many people are aware of an amazing personality typing system called the Enneagram. We've been using it very successfully since we started the Ecosystem Approach. We've discovered its real purpose and a major misconception that most authors and experts don't understand. Stay tuned. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason. The Enneagram has a great reputation, but what have all of those experts and authors missed? And why do we know something that they don't?
Okay, most experts try to understand the Enneagram and they look at history and then they try and figure it out.
Okay.
Left brain stuff.
Well, I know that that's what I did in the beginning.
Sure.
Okay.
But when you use the ecosystem approach, you develop refined intuition and what we call evolved consciousness.
Correct.
So this isn't a course that you take or you figure it out after years of study. It comes from removing the negative energy and learning how you lie and deceive yourself, and then start to see how others lie and deceive themselves. Now, we've been learning that for the last over 20 years.
That's correct.
Not only with ourselves, because we apply the ecosystem approach every single day.
Yes, actually several times a day.
Yes. And we see it with the clients that we've had, many clients over the years.
Right.
So when we say, okay, we see this intuitively,
yes,
it's not something we're just pulling out of the air, or we're just today's the day. Today's the time of wild conspiracy theories, and people are saying, well, this means this and this means this.
Right.
And again, with that evolved consciousness, it makes my it makes me really upset. Okay. She's tried to
I'm trying to keep him from using a standard expression. Okay.
Yes,
there we go.
Yes. But when you remove this negative energy, you begin to relearn how to exist in the world and with greater evolved consciousness. So when we say we see something about the Enneagram that no one else sees, that's why.
Okay.
It's not something that we just kind of pulled out of the air.
Right.
It's very clear, and it's been clear to me since almost the beginning.
Correct. Well, I was going to say one of the reasons we started the ecosystem approach was because we were using the Enneagram, but we started to see some things that we had not read in any of the books. We started to see because we were starting to create our own refined intuition.
Yes.
And it was pretty phenomenal, in my opinion.
It was.
Okay.
And frankly, when I first started, I used the Enneagram as a crutch. So when I did when I did a session with someone, I would know what their Enneagram type was. And then that was my frame.
Yes.
And then I said, well, I see this, this, and this. And people, and this is frankly, it shocked me a little bit. People would say, oh my God, how did you know that? I've never told that to anybody. How did you, are you reading my mind? Or, what's going,
yes.
all those things.
You're really good.
Yeah.
And by the way, he is really good. Do not misunderstand that comment, but yes.
But it was just, I started with the Enneagram it was a great frame. So anyways,
yes.
So here's the big tidbit that's really important. Okay. First of all, this is not something we just pull out of the air. We see this very clearly.
Correct.
The Enneagram was downloaded originally from the non-physical dimension, not in this dimension. So humans on Earth could see the negative, dark, bad energy that was attached to them and to their essence.
Correct.
And
Meaning covering up their essence.
yes.
Okay.
And so they could see it through their personality.
Right.
It technically allows everybody to see that dark energy and how it works.
Yes.
You know,
but we're also trained to ignore it.
We're trained. Well, yes, that's a whole different thing. But what we're talking about now is that the problem is that often with the Enneagram, people are saying, okay, I know what my type is. I know what your type is, blah,
Correct.
blah, blah. But they're normalizing this negative energy.
Right.
And we see that as a huge problem.
Well, because when you normalize negative energy, it does what I see, it gives people permission to
have it.
But the other thing is it also gives people permission to take out their negative stuff on somebody else.
Well, and yes, that happens all the time.
All the time.
And it's all invisible. We see it. We see it in a macro way.
Yeah.
We see the world kind of falling apart and people are acting badly toward each other.
Yes.
But we don't know why.
Yes.
And this gives us a big hint. So let's give some examples. Okay. And I'll just go through the Enneagram. If you've never heard of the Enneagram, I guess I should tell you this. It's a personality typing system, and the types are 1 through 9.
Yes.
One number isn't better than another.
Correct.
It just describes different types of emotional compulsions that each type has.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that. 1 has an attention to detail. Okay. 2 has the ability to care and love for others. 3 has the ability to charm others. Yes. The 4 has the ability to be creative and to be an artist. The 5 has the ability to solve problems at a deep level. The 6 has the ability to care for and protect others. And the 7 has the ability to keep working to get things done. The 8 has the ability to push others to get things done. And the 9 has the ability to bring others together and make peace.
Correct.
That's superficial. That's just some of the basics.
Yes.
But here's what I think is really important, especially if you've been doing the ecosystem approach, or you want to know more, or you're really interested in the ecosystem approach. The reason most people's growth using the ecosystem approach is invisible. We've said this, we've heard this so many times. I've been clearing, and I don't see any benefit. I don't see
anything different.
Progress.
And I still feel the same.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
That's because we're trained, because of programming, treating us like a machine, to look for goals and objectives achieved. But a better way to look at your progress and even to look at your evolution, and I've told people this, is to look at your Enneagram type and to see how things are changing that you're able to do today that you weren't able to do emotionally before.
Correct.
So when a 2 comes to me and says, I'm able to say no for the first time, I know that's a big deal.
You have no idea, everyone. It's a huge deal.
But if you say that to an 8, they say, I can say no all day long.
Exactly.
What's the big deal?
And one of the things that we need to talk about here for just 1 second, each and every one of us is unique. There is no 2 ways about it. And everyone can say, I can put you all together and then, you're all going to act the same. Well, you know what? Or think the same. The answer to that is no, that's not true. So
we can see someone's evolution.
Correct.
By looking at their Enneagram type.
Correct.
And how their behaviors line up with average, unhealthy, or healthy.
Yes.
That's the Rizzo book does that. He did
and by the way,
a good job.
Does it very well. Yes.
Yeah. However, people are trained to look for goals and objectives. Here's the big aha.
Okay.
This is a great takeaway especially for this segment. Human beings confuse achieving goals from real growth and evolution that happens when you remove the negative energy.
Correct.
So when someone like Elon Musk has this great success, he creates a car, he creates a battery, he goes flying off into space. Yeah. We say, oh my gosh, he's evolved. I'm choking. Okay. Because I look at his Enneagram type and look for evidence of that evolution, and I don't see it. So when you don't remove that energy, your success in one area is always at the expense of others.
Ooh,
If you ever talk to his ex-wife, he's he's not very well thought of, and
Yes.
even some of his kids. So when you apply the ecosystem approach, it happens in all areas of your life.
Which is really remarkable, because that's not an expectation
Right.
that one has.
Right. Your program is say, I want to have a great success in one small area.
Correct.
And then everything else doesn't matter. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
That's not how we're designed as human beings. And so it just becomes I'm really confused. We're going to keep talking about this.
Okay.
This is a really fascinating idea of looking at the Enneagram.
Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
We see Enneagram misconceptions because of refined intuition and evolved consciousness.
Okay.
We just don't pull it out of the air. The Enneagram purpose is to help mankind perceive negative energy that's attached to them.
And use the ecosystem approach to remove it.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Real growth
in I'm sorry, because what's underneath is awesome.
Oh my gosh. That's where all the power is.
That's right.
That's where this age of Aquarius new change happens.
Exactly.
Is when you start moving that negative energy. So
yes.
Real growth and evolution happens when you remove negative energy, not from achieving goals. And the ecosystem approach teaches you to always focus on your negative energy attached to your essence.
And by the way, when you start removing that negative energy, one of the most awesome things happens, and we hear this a lot. You start to feel, one of the first things that happens is you feel lighter.
Right.
You actually physically feel lighter. And we didn't expect that at all. And there it was. So it's pretty awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So in the next segment, we're going to talk about the positive and negative traits of each Enneagram type and how all the traits are negative. Okay. It's one of the biggest misconceptions about the Enneagram. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. I'll figure that one out in a minute. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the positive and negative traits for each Enneagram type and how all the traits are negative. It's one of the biggest misconceptions about the Enneagram. I find it fascinating, actually. We're married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, all the books I've ever read about the Enneagram talks about the positive and negative traits. What do you mean by saying that they're all negative? And, well, it doesn't exactly make sense.
So behaviors and the view of the world described by the Enneagram are compulsive. And they're not based on true objectivity. They're not based on, oh my gosh, this is how I should act in this particular situation.
Okay.
They're based on a form of compulsion, which happens without thought. And you just do it. Think of an extreme example.
Okay.
Someone who's an alcoholic or drug addict.
Okay.
They don't think, well, should I take that drink? Should I have that fix? It's compulsive. Yes. They have no other choice
as far as they're concerned.
And so so that's an extreme example. When you go to a 2,
okay,
to be loving is compulsive. Now you would never think that you can be too loving, but 2s do it all the time.
Yes.
And
it becomes either obsessive or possessive, correct?
Yes, obsessive or possessive.
Oh, both.
You can have too much love where there's no limits or boundaries of people around you. And so you're taken advantage of, and you get resentful and bitter, because there's no boundaries.
Yes.
Is that too much love? All those people that said love is the answer are probably shaking their finger at me right now at the screen, but
and making that the middle finger. Yeah.
It's easy to see. Okay, well, ones, for example.
Okay.
they want to have things that have to be done right.
And well, I would call, when I talk about a 1, I talk about ducks have to be in a row.
Yes.
And they better be in the right order, or there's going to be a form of hell to pay.
So what's wrong with that? Well, taken to extreme, when it becomes compulsive,
Correct.
the need for perfection sometimes overrides other things that probably should be more important.
Correct.
And you can go on and on.
Correct.
A 6 has the need to make sure they look outside themselves and say, okay, what does everybody need in the moment? And they take care of that.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with that? Well, they usually do it at the expense of themselves. So all the positive traits, if you look at the Enneagram, can be negative, especially when they're compulsive.
Yeah.
So this is huge. And if you understand, and it's not that the Enneagram is a bad personality typing system.
No, in fact, it gives great information.
It is, because until the Enneagram, there was very little way for me to describe to someone, the biggest question: what do I clear?
Yeah.
They wouldn't think of clearing love. They wouldn't think of trying to do things right. Yes. They wouldn't think of, depending on their Enneagram type. And it's what's ironic is that, so I'm telling this person over here, oh, you should need to clear your compulsion to love.
Right. When you're telling somebody else over there
that you need to have more love in your life.
Yeah.
It seems so.
What's that called? A dichotomy?
What's an irony?
Irony. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
And just plain crazy.
Yeah.
It just seems weird, but that's how the ecosystem approach is so powerful.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Because I just want to point this out. All of us can clear anger and hate and bitterness. I'm just going to use those as examples. And which is great. All the Enneagram types can. But when you start clearing them specifically, and we talk about specifically a lot, when you start clearing them, the 2 will clear something completely different than the 6.
Yes.
Or the 8 or the 4 or
exactly.
And the most amazing thing is that you go, the 2 would say to the 9, what do you mean you're clearing anger, hate, and bitterness for that? I mean, you can't handle that.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Exactly, because each person has different compulsions.
That's correct. And we all have a different story.
Here's a major point.
Okay.
Compulsions.
Yes.
Behavioral compulsions eliminate free will.
Ooh. You might want to say that one more time. That's huge.
Free will is what elevates human beings from the rest of living beings on Earth.
Correct.
Because if we lose our free will, then we're enslaved to our compulsions.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought it was thumbs.
That doesn't distinguish us.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's the ability to have free will and say, hey, I'm going to make this world better. There's all these sci-fi movies now where our artificial intelligence takes over the world.
Right.
Well, the way human beings are now, they can.
Yes.
Because as machines, we don't do very well.
No.
We suck. It's machines. Human beings as machines don't do very well. That's why we call it the ecosystem approach. Human beings are ecosystems, and it's a whole different way of looking at the way humans should be.
Right.
So let me give you some examples. Okay. Some positive Enneagram traits that can be negative based on context or overuse.
Okay.
And 8, who may be a shining star at work, great leader, Elon Musk. I was picking on him, so I might as well pick on it. He continued to pick on him. And it's not that I don't respect what he's done.
He's done some amazing things. Absolutely.
As a human being, would I want to hang out with him? Yeah. Well, anyways, but he's an 8. As an 8 dad, who has a son who's sensitive and artistic, an 8 compulsively will push someone, drive someone. So if he has kids, he's going to push and drive his kids. He's going to challenge them. He's going to make them be tough. He's going to make them strong, blah, 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 which may not be appropriate for all types of people.
Correct.
Girls or boys,
Correct.
he can't do it any other way because it's compulsive.
There you
That's
go.
where he loses his free
That's
will.
a really good example.
The 2 who has a handicapped child, who loves them so much, who sees their child in the backyard fall down and start to cry compulsively, they can't help themselves. They run out there and make it all better. To kiss the boo-boo, to make it better, when they really should say, oh, let's see if they can stand up and figure it out for themselves.
Right.
You know, and know when to do which.
Okay.
You know, that's the compulsion.
Right.
The 9 who has an animal shelter that can't say no, that was originally designed for 20 animals, and now there's 40, and they can't take care of them anymore because they can't put limits on, you know, by saying no.
Correct.
It's the same thing. Okay.
Yes.
Here's the other thing. Negative energy attached to essence
Can create.
Can create positive Enneagram types. And I have to think about this, but it's really a big deal.
Okay.
So a 4,
okay,
you know, she's a 4, has the ability to be very creative and artistic.
Yes.
What's wrong with that? You know, she is very creative and artistic, you know.
Wait a minute.
But
nothing.
You know, the 4 part of her that comes from that negative energy, it can easily turn into being a prima donna. And if you think about some great actresses and actors who are often 4s, because, you know,
because of the creativity side of them. Yes.
You know, they may be able to perform really well and put out great art, but they can be a prima donna behind the scenes.
Correct.
That's where the dark energy always twists it and turns what's compulsive.
Correct.
You know, we're designed.
And I'm going to jump in and say, understand that, and I want everyone out there to understand that when somebody, a 4 is a prima donna, when they realize that they're being a prima donna, I can guarantee you they'll go, that wasn't my intention. But when you use the ecosystem approach, then you can see how not to be the prima donna and to be the best part of your essence.
That's the most important point, and that's what I want to try and describe.
Okay.
When you take away the negative energy, you have choice about how you implement and execute those positive traits.
Exactly.
And what context to do it in.
Yeah.
You know,
it's true.
And
I've done it, everyone.
You know, and so what happens is that, again, you're not achieving goals and objectives as you do the ecosystem approach, but what you're doing is saying, okay, should I act this way, which I normally would do in this situation, or not?
Exactly.
That's free will. Oh my gosh, that's evolved consciousness. That's where you're starting to grasp your unlimited potential.
Exactly. And for all the Enneagram types, when you do something, make changes in that way, look at it from a different perspective. You hear me talk about that need to love yourself. It's amazing. It's not, love. What it is that, wow, I am this person.
I'm in charge now.
And I can be not only in charge, but I can take care of the situation.
I could do it one way in this situation and another way in this other situation.
In other words, it doesn't have to be just one way, because life isn't just one way.
I've always wondered why people who are presented with a better way to be in the world, don't take it.
Yeah, that always.
We've had, I mean, this has happened for 20 years. We've had people say, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is great. I'm going to tell my friends about it," and their friends aren't interested, or they try it and they, nah. You know, it's because that negative energy doesn't want to be replaced. That negative energy doesn't want to go away.
That is correct.
And the compulsions are stronger than the will to be whole.
Exactly.
You know, here's the last point, and I know we're out of time. Many of our clients over the years compare their perceived shortcomings, which are compulsive, and associate with other Enneagram types. So a 6 will say, "Oh, I wish I could be like that 8 over there."
That's correct. Yes.
But they don't realize that 8 is being compulsive, even though that trait seems more positive to them.
Exactly.
You know, it's not better, it's not fair, and it's not really a good comparison.
Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Enneagram behaviors and perspectives, especially the positive ones, are compulsive. You have no choice.
Correct.
Compulsive behaviors and perspectives are compulsive are compulsive and eliminate free will.
Okay.
It's essential to evolution. Free will is essential to evolution. Positive Enneagram traits come from negative energy attached to essence, not the way that humans are designed.
Correct.
And the ecosystem approach is designed to teach you to remove the negative energy so your essence is in charge and operates the way you were designed.
Correct. In the next segment, we're going to talk about your journey beyond the Enneagram and what happens when you connect with your true, authentic self and your unique, unlimited potential. You haven't heard this one before. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about your journey beyond the Enneagram and what happens when you connect with your true, authentic self and your unique, unlimited potential. You haven't heard this one before. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, what do you mean by your journey beyond the Enneagram? And I thought the Enneagram is a tool to connect with your authentic self or your essence.
It's not what we see.
Okay.
And I'm very clear about this, okay? From the perspective of refined intuition and evolved consciousness, the Enneagram is not for connecting with your authentic self. It's to help you identify the negative or bad energy that's connected to you so you can remove it.
Okay.
And then when you do that, then you have your essence available.
I see.
And we've been doing this for many years. A lot of our clients have been with us for years and years and years. And as a result, we're starting to see, well, they're not imprisoned by the compulsions of their Enneagram type anymore.
Yeah.
So what happens? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. When that starts to happen, the world just kind of opens up and says, okay, well, who am I? And how do I want to be in the world?
Right.
It's a delicious possibility.
Yes.
So it's a challenge when you remove enough of the compulsions to know who you are, because you spent all your life being or thinking of yourself as that Enneagram type.
Well, not only that, but you also are learned, or you're trained to protect those things.
Yes.
And
to own them, to
exactly.
be attached to them.
That's correct.
And so I think the best example is you. So, she's an Enneagram type 4.
Okay.
Very emotional, very creative, very artistic, but also there were times that, in the beginning, there were certain things I couldn't tell her because she would take it personally.
Yeah.
You would take it personally.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
But I didn't know not to.
Well, exactly, because everything was emotional.
Because everything was emotional.
One of the things I say about a 4, they have to start telling themselves, instead of asking, how do I feel about this?
Yes.
They have to ask, what do I do about it?
But you wouldn't say that to somebody such as a 1.
Yes. Then you say, well, how do you feel about that?
That's
what do you do about it?
In other words, that's what he's talking about. The differences in the Enneagram types.
But here's what's interesting, okay? Your natal chart. So when you're those compulsions from the Enneagram type start to fade away, and you're not bound by them, you have more free will. You're saying, okay, who am I in the world?
Right.
What we use, and there's other ways of doing it, but we use it because it has the most depth and meat to it, is in astrology, you have what's called a natal chart,
right,
which is the imprint of who you are at the time of your birth.
Correct.
And it's got huge amounts of depth, lots and lots of information, but it doesn't define you. If these aren't rules, you don't take this and study it so that you have to conform to it. It conforms to you.
There you go.
Because once you start removing this negative energy and you're connected with your essence will guide you according to this frame of your astrology, but not as rules, just as guidelines.
Okay.
And so for Patricia, her sun sign, these are the major parts of her astrology, is Libra. Her moon is Gemini, and her ascending sign is Libra.
OMG.
All those signs, both of those signs, Libra and Gemini, are air. And if you know anything about astrology, air is intellectual. Air is logical. Air is, it is a form of intellect. Well, when I first talked to her about objectivity, she had to go look it up. She didn't know what it was.
Not once, not twice, but 3 different times, because I did not understand what it was.
So
I was never taught that.
The point about all this, what's really interesting is that your 4 is not who you are at all.
Exactly.
And all that 4 comes from negative energy.
Yes.
And as she starts to remove that, it's like, oh my gosh.
Wait a minute. Who am I? That's the first thing that came up. But the second thing that came up was, oh, you mean I can see it from this perspective?
Yes.
What? And I mean,
I can solve problems this way as opposed to emotionally.
I tell you, I was like, oh my gosh, tell me more.
And we're just beginning to see some of the possibilities. And now that she has free will, it's not up to astrology to tell her. It's up to her to say, okay, I see this frame about who I am. How do I implement that in the world? Because it's your choice, not it doesn't come from astrology. Astrology is not going to fate you or
it's not predestined.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So for me, another example, I was a 6.
You are a 6.
I am a 6 in the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm.
And 6s have a lot of fears, insecurities, worries, anxiety.
Correct.
And all of a sudden I look at my astrology. I'm a Sagittarius sun. I have a Scorpio moon. That's my intuition. It's water, and an Aries ascending sign. My gosh, 6s can fade into the background. They're not the
Does he look like he fades into the background?
Life of the party. But oh my gosh, it's 6s would never offend anybody. Sagittariuses are offensive. Oh my gosh, by nature,
yes.
They put it out there. They say the truth. Aries, they put their head down and go forward. They're aggressive. They make things happen. And if they ruffle some feathers around along the way, that's the way it is. That's never been me. I've always been so careful to make sure I don't hurt anybody's feelings, or so nice. And it's starting to fade.
Done,
it's starting to fade, and
yes.
I'm becoming more of who I am with this fire, and so it's one of the most exciting things that ever happens. So when you can, I still refer back to the Enneagram because I know that's the negative energy.
Correct.
That tells me where I can clear very specifically.
That is correct.
And that's part of why the ecosystem approach is so powerful.
Exactly. But I want to put in a major point here. We know, because we've been studying this, but we're really trying to help you understand, the audience, all of this. Understand that your natal chart is not a spec sheet. In other words, it's not the boxes that you click off, or I did this, this, and this today, and so that makes me a good person. That's not what we're talking about here. Can you go into depth about that a little more?
So it gives you information. Now, if you study astrology, there are a lot of things. Well, your Mercury is this, but your moon is this, and your sun is this, but your Jupiter is over here.
Well, isn't that variables?
Well, they conflict. A lot of times these things will conflict. Well, what is it? Well, it's for you to decide.
Your choice.
Your choice,
there you go.
And your implementation based on a situation.
And that's what I was looking for you to say.
And what happens is when you understand these different pieces, you can access these different pieces in different contexts.
Exactly. I love that part. I absolutely love that part. So, Jason, what happens when your Enneagram type and your natal chart are similar? What happens with that?
It makes it more difficult. That's a really good question.
Okay.
It's as you continue to clear your Enneagram type. For example, An 8 is aggressive.
Yes.
If your astrology is very also aggressive, it's hard
Okay.
to say, well, which is from the negative energy and which is from, but which is from my astrology. If you keep removing the negative energy,
You'll be able to see.
and as you become attuned to that, you'll know when that compulsion turns negative, when it
Yeah.
starts to do bad things.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
you just have to be a little more vigilant with that,
Okay.
which of course you can do using the ecosystem approach, because you have that sensitivity where you might not have had it before.
And by the way, it's awesome because it helps you remove things. And by the way, sometimes removing things can be, I'm going to say, emotionally painful, but what you get in return is a clarity that you need for your life in order for you to be the best of you. And that's one of the reasons we're here, the best of you, and to make the choices that you need to be able to make. So should we do the key points?
Yeah, let's do the key points.
All right, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
When you remove enough compulsions from your type, then who are you? We see astrology can be accurate when it comes to who you are authentically, and you can see the conflicts with your Enneagram type.
Okay.
This astrological natal chart can be a roadmap to your essence after using the ecosystem approach.
And by the way, that's how I did it, everyone, and I love it.
And has all the details. We're talking about her astrology more and more and more, and say, oh, that was your astrology. Oh my gosh, yeah. So the ecosystem approach teaches you how to start seeing those authentic parts of yourself, and then let your essence guide you, because your natal chart is not a specification, it's a form of guidelines.
Love it. So, Jason, real fast, because we're running out of time again. This has been a great subject, by the way. Let's teach everyone how to remove negative energy.
So your posture is not important. You can stand, sit, walk, lay down. When we say and to eliminate, what we say to eliminate, gather that all up and throw it into the processor. If you don't know what the processor looks like, you can use a trash can. Now would be a great time to go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org.
Sure.
Sign up for our free section. We have you'll get a weekly newsletter with all the clearings, which we're going to do in the next segment.
Yes.
And it's always a few paragraphs about this week's show.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you start to have language to make subtle energy useful in your everyday life. Meaning, we're going to make these changes. We're going to show you through the clearings how to make some changes for yourself in your highest and best interest. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you start to understand the Enneagram and how it works in the world, and especially for you. Jason, you ready?
Here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the Enneagram compulsions take away free will.
Ooh,
remove those barriers.
And throw them into that processor garbage can, whatever. Remember, you don't want to just blow them out into the air, because what happens is you do all this work and then you get up and walk into them. That's not in your best interest or the environment's best interest. Take care of them. So I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit, and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that both positive and negative, the positive and the negative Enneagram traits are compulsive. You know what? And they remove free will.
Exactly.
Take a breath, nice and easy. You don't need that, because free will is what makes this life very interesting.
So here we go. And to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress I have, because I'm seeing these personality traits differently, especially if you're a 4 or an emotional type.
Oh, yeah, it's
all of a sudden we flipped your world upside down. It's not that big a deal. And this is really going to be helpful.
Yes, definitely. Take a breath. And to eliminate any feelings of fear, hurt, and shame that I have that is compulsive and connected to negative energy in my essence. I don't need it. Neither do you. Throw it away.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that comparing myself to other Enneagram types is never fair to me.
Yes.
It's just one compulsion or another.
Correct.
But they're both compulsions. Take a breath.
Away. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that after removing bad energy that creates compulsions, I then have what? Free will.
Yes.
That is so amazing. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror that I can't control because, but I can remove those feelings after clearing, but it just takes time.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers. Were you going to say something?
Well, yeah, the fear and terror is often compulsive for like a 6, for example.
Right.
You know, when something happens, they compulsively perceive the world that way.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly. So, and to eliminate the barrier so I can see that removing negative energy is the way to evolve, not achieving goals and objectives. Take a nice breath.
And to eliminate any resentment I have that other types seem to have it easier or are able to do certain things. It's never true.
No.
Different compulsions. That's all it is.
Exactly. Take a breath. And to eliminate any resistance I have to seeing positive Enneagram, traits as coming from negative energy that is attached to me. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that positive traits are still negative energy.
I see. Yes, definitely. Blow them out. You don't need them.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that real growth happens when you remove bad energy, not by attaining goals.
Exactly. Take a breath. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the foundational purpose for the Enneagram is to help humans see their own bad energy. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see the difference between wild conjecture and good judgment is refined intuition, evolved consciousness that comes from removing the negative energy and relearning how to be in the world.
Correct.
Take a breath.
Take a breath. And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that when someone has a long list of achievements and many credentials, it does not necessarily mean they are evolved or have evolved consciousness. Take a breath.
That's a big one. That shakes up so
huge.
many preconceived notions.
That is huge. So, Jason, I didn't get a chance because we ran out of time before, but we're going to activate life force, everyone, and I'm going to ask you to follow along with me. Life force is the most positive, the most amazing energy that any of us on this planet has access to. And by the way, what we're going to do is we're going to call it in and we're going to have it come in through the top of our head, but we're going to ask it to go into the places where a lot of these negative energies that we were just clearing, getting rid of, removing, we're going to ask that life force energy to go in there to start to heal these spots because these spots are raw. So go with me. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy so I can use life force energy and have the clarity to use the life force energy that will make my life better, easier, and with more awareness than I have right now, starting today. Take a nice breath. Pull in that life force energy, let it go in and start to heal all those spots where we just removed negative energy. Stop it at the tips of your toes. Ask it to turn around right now and come back out, blow it out so that you can start today to feel better.
And to activate life force so I can have hope to see and experience my true self by using astrology, not the Enneagram.
Take a breath.
Take a breath.
Let it go in and blow it out. And to activate life force so I can trust that using the Enneagram will show me what negative energy I personally need to remove. By the way, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Take a breath and blow it out.
And to activate life force so I can decide to focus on removing negative energy from my essence and using the Enneagram as a guide to do that.
Yes.
Take a breath.
Pull out any negative energy. Ask that life force to go in and heal you. And the last one, and to activate life force so I can heal. I can be happy, so I can have clarity, awareness, and objectivity, creativity, be able to heal myself and then heal others if necessary, but also be happy and have hope and love. And by the way, the best way to learn to love yourself is by doing the ecosystem approach starting today. Nice and easy. Take a breath, pull all that in, and now blow out any negative energy left over. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
We had a bad day today. So, that we came into my office, the computer was all crapped out. So we're going to do, and this is probably for me, this is very telling.
Oh, now I understand.
But we're going to do a subtle energy spa treatment.
Yes.
Next week's show is going to be all about helping you feel better.
Yeah.
We're going to clear the negative stuff that makes you feel bad.
Okay.
But activate a lot of good stuff that makes you feel good.
I love that.
Patricia's going to show you how to do a energy facial.
Yes.
And there's probably some other energy things we can do that will
put
our mind to it. So
yes, absolutely.
This is going to be really helpful. It's going to be mostly working with the energy. So it's an important show. You'll listen to this one over and over and over again.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Be sure and listen.
Love that. So
today's show, if we touched your heart some way, if you said, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly where I'm at. This is what I need to know." Yeah. It's time for the ecosystem approach. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. Okay. Sign up for our free section. You get the weekly newsletter. You'll have all the clearings written out for you, and we'll talk about what's going to be in the next show.
Okay.
And it's a way of being connected to us, but also listen to our show every week.
Yeah.
Every week it's a different topic, but every week it's about how to apply what we know about subtle energies in the ecosystem approach to your everyday life.
Yes.
And it seems like we go from this subject to this subject to this subject,
exactly.
But it's for everything.
Okay.
And also, you can also go to our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org.
Okay. We'll connect next week, Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.